Hey there, welcome back to my kitchen. Today I wanted to make some more Sunday dinner recipes with you. I just love making Sunday dinners and being able to sit down and spend time with family. Even though it's just me and my husband right now, we're going to be moving back home soon and I cannot wait to have those Sunday dinners with my family again. So I hope you enjoyed today's video and find a recipe or two that you want to make with your family for Sunday dinner. First up today is something my husband has been begging for weeks now, is this cheeseburger potato soup inside of these homemade bread bowls. As you can see, I have thawed out some of this bread dough. Here is a picture of what the packaging looks like. It comes frozen, so I just follow the back directions on the overnight thawing method. So in the morning, I go ahead and cut this bread dough into 3 pieces, try to get them as equal as possible. And then I'm just going to take my hands and roll these just a little bit so they're a little bit more round and pinch the backside together. Add it to a parchment paper lined baking sheet and go ahead and repeat that with the other 2 pieces. Spray them lightly with some oil and then cover them lightly with some plastic wrap, and you're going to let these rise for about 3 hours until they have doubled in size. As the 3-hour mark approaches, go ahead and preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Here's what the bread bowls look like after the 3 hours. As you can see, they have doubled in size. At this point, you're going to take 1 beaten egg and cover the tops of those bread bowls with that egg. Now these are going into the oven to bake for right around 18 to 20 minutes until the tops are nice and golden, just like this. We're going to let these cool down completely before we continue with them, but for now we're going to go ahead and get started on the soup. In this cast iron pan, I am cooking up some bacon. You'll need about half a pack of bacon. You're just going to be using this to add to the top in the end. Next, into this big pot, I'm adding 1 pound of ground beef, half of a yellow onion that I chopped up, along with half a cup of chopped celery. These 3 are going to cook in here until they are cooked all the way through and the celery and onion are tender. Next, you'll need to add in 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. Along with some seasonings, we're adding 1 teaspoon of basil and 1 teaspoon of parsley. Give this a good mix, let that garlic cook for about a minute or so, and then we will move on to the next step. And next you can add in 3 cups of cubed potatoes. Specifically, I like to use golden or yellow potatoes for this recipe. And then you will add in 3 cups of low sodium chicken broth. Give this a good stir, picking up anything on the bottom of the pan, and then you're going to cover this and let the potatoes boil. This should take about 12 to 15 minutes. You just want to make sure that your potatoes are fork tender. Now in this bowl I have about a 1/4 cup of water along with 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. I'm just going to combine these and add these directly into the soup. Let this continue to boil for about 5 more minutes and let the cornstarch thicken the soup up. Next, add in 1 16-ounce package of Velveeta cheese or one of the off-brand ones. Just be sure to cube it up, that way it can melt easier in the soup. Once the cheese is all melted, go ahead and add in 1.5 cups of milk. I would avoid using skim milk, but you can use 2% whole milk or even half and half. Then add in 3 more seasonings. We're adding a half teaspoon of pepper, a half teaspoon of salt, and a half teaspoon of onion powder. Once we have all the ingredients in, I do encourage you to taste this. Make sure it's where you want it with the seasonings, just in case you want to adjust them. For the last step of this recipe, we are going to add in about 1 teaspoon of mustard. You can leave that out or add more if you want to. And then also about a 1/4 cup of sour cream. Give this a good stir, and then you're going to let this sit on your stove for at least 10 minutes before eating. Now to finish up the bread bowls while the soup is cooling in the pot. As you can see, I already went ahead and did the first 2. But to prepare these bread bowls, you're going to need to take a knife and stick your knife in at an angle just enough to cut off a little bit of the top there. You don't want to remove too much bread out of it, and you want to make sure you leave enough room on the sides to hold your soup in the bowl. Next, you're going to take your hand and press directly down in the bottom first, and then start pressing the sides against the side of the bowl. Just make sure you have created a thick barrier all the way around the bowl on the sides and the bottom. That way the soup cannot leak out of your bowl. Now you can go ahead and fill this up with some soup. I like to top mine with some of that bacon we cooked up, along with some shredded cheddar cheese and some green onions. This meal is such a comfort meal, one of our favorites like I said. It's extremely filling, and if you don't try anything from this video, at least try these bread bowls because they're unbelievably easy and you can make them with any soup you like. Now we are going to be making this steak with some baked potato and a side salad. We're going to go ahead and start with the baked potatoes since they take the longest to cook. I am just preheating my oven to 400 degrees and then over to this little pan. I have 2 potatoes that I washed really well. I'm now poking them with a fork all over, and then you're going to just cover them with some oil. I'm using some avocado oil, but olive oil will work as well. And then once you've added the oil all over the potatoes, then you can sprinkle them lightly with some salt all over as well. There is no need to wrap these in foil or anything, you can cook them just like this. These potatoes will go into the oven to bake for at least an hour, maybe a little bit longer, just depending on how large the potato is. You just want to make sure that you can pierce it easily with a fork. Next up, we're going to go ahead and start preparing the rub for the steaks. This is not something I normally do, but something we've been really wanting to try out. Into this little bowl, I'm adding in 2 teaspoons of brown sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of cornstarch, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, half a teaspoon of paprika, half a teaspoon of chili powder, and 1 teaspoon of black pepper. Get that all mixed together and then just set it aside for a moment. For this recipe today, I am using 2 ribeye steaks. I usually only buy steaks when they are marked down or on a really good sale. These ones here I got on a manager markdown for a crazy low price. That is the only reason I bought them. After getting the steaks out, just go ahead and take that rub and cover them on both sides. We are not going to be cooking these just yet. They are actually going to rest for about 45 minutes, and then after that 45 minutes you can go ahead and add them to your grill. Here's what the baked potatoes look like coming out of the oven. They don't look much different, but once they're done, you can go ahead and add them to a plate, cut them down the middle, and then just kind of plump them up a little bit. For my husband's, he likes to just have some butter in his with some sour cream and chives. He likes his potato pretty simple. While I was getting all this ready, he was outside grilling our steaks, and he told me that he grilled our steaks for 2 minutes on each side on the hot side of the grill because we have a charcoal grill, and then after that move them over to the cooler side until they reached at least 135 degrees. The last thing that I'm doing for our Sunday dinner is just preparing some salads. If your family all likes the same thing, you can add everything into one big bowl and then just serve one big bowl, but me and my husband have different tastes. I love all the toppings, so I'm adding some tomato, red onion, cucumber, shredded cheese, and croutons. And for my husband, he only likes shredded cheese and croutons. He likes bacon if I make bacon for the salads, but I didn't do that on this day. And then for the dressing, I just added some ranch dressing to both salads. Here is what my plate looked like in the end. Of course, I have my side salad here. And then for my baked potato, I like to add some shredded cheese, sour cream, and chives with some salt and pepper onto mine. And then this is what the steak looked like in the end. We like our steak to be rare to medium rare, so if you don't like yours that pink, then definitely cook it a little bit longer. We really did enjoy this rub. It was delicious. I will link the recipe down below. It's supposed to be sort of like a Texas Roadhouse steak, and we both really thought it was delicious. Now we're making something my mom used to make all the time when I was a kid. We're making some turkey roll-ups. I started by preheating my oven to 350 degrees. And now over to this pot on my stove, I'm just going to prepare 2 boxes of this turkey stuffing. I just followed the box directions with this and prepared the stuffing. Once the stuffing was done, I went ahead and just let it cool off for a minute. I have a pan prepared along with about half a pound of sliced turkey. When you get this from the deli, just make sure that it is not too thin and also not too thick. You want to be able to roll it up just like this. But you're just going to add about 1 scoop of stuffing into each piece of turkey, roll it up nice and tight, and then add it into your dish. Continue doing that until you've used up all your turkey or stuffing, whichever comes first. On this day, I actually ran out of turkey before stuffing, so once I was done rolling those up, I took the rest of the stuffing and just added it over the top. Then you'll add 1 jar of this turkey gravy over the top. Just try to spread it around the best you can. I stuck this in my oven for about 20 to 25 minutes until the gravy was lightly bubbling. To finish it off, I just sprinkled some parsley over the top to give it a little bit of color. And then I just served some mashed potatoes and some Italian style green beans with this. If you are looking for a comfort meal that doesn't take a lot of time or effort, then you definitely need to try this one out. It is beyond easy, and if you don't want to make mashed potatoes, you can make instant mashed potatoes. That would make it even quicker. And then a can of green beans. This meal is so easy, and I really think you'll like it. Last but not least, today we're making this Italian meatball soup. Into my nice big pot here, I'm adding about 2 tablespoons of avocado oil. Next, you'll add in about half of a yellow onion chopped up, and you'll just let this cook for about 8 to 10 minutes until it has gotten some color on it and is nice and tender. Next, add in about a tablespoon of minced garlic. Let this sit in here and cook for about 30 seconds to a minute before you add any more ingredients. Next, you'll add 1 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. Give this a quick stir just to make sure that the garlic is not burning to the bottom of the pan. Now add in 4 to 5 cups of beef broth. If you like it to be more soupy, then definitely add in that 5th cup of broth. Unfortunately, I got a phone call and my phone stopped recording, so I did not get myself adding the seasonings in. For the seasonings, you'll need to add in about 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, a 1/4 teaspoon of dried basil, half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes, but if you do not want to add those, then please feel free to skip that. And then I added in about a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper and half a teaspoon of salt at this point. At the end, you will see me adjust my salt and pepper a little bit. But that's something I encourage everybody to do, to give it a taste, adjust the seasonings as needed to your liking. Once this comes to a boil, then you can add in a 1.5 cups of pasta. I use some elbow noodles, but you can use any pasta that you like. Just let that pasta cook in there until it is nice and tender. Next, you can add in about 1 pound of meatballs. I went ahead and used some homemade meatballs. I will link the recipe down below for these because they are my favorite meatballs. But if you don't want to make your own meatballs, you can also just use some frozen meatballs. The last thing you need to add in here is some fresh basil. I went ahead and just took about 5 basil leaves and chopped those up. If you don't like fresh basil, then please leave that out. You don't have to add it in. Now is the time to go ahead and give this a taste and adjust any seasonings that you like. I needed to add a little bit more salt and oregano along with some garlic powder. I didn't add any garlic powder earlier in the video, but I just wanted to enhance the garlic flavor a little bit more. Here's what my bowl looked like in the end. I like to top mine with some extra basil along with some shaved Parmesan cheese. On the side, I did make some homemade sourdough garlic bread to go with this. But you could honestly just make regular garlic bread to go along with this. This soup is addicting though, let me tell you, it is so good. We both really love this recipe. I've made it a few times now. But if you do have the time, I definitely recommend making your own meatballs to go in this because it makes it 10 times better. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you did make it all the way to the end, you know the drill. Go ahead and leave me a flower down below in the comments to let me know that you did. I will be back on Wednesday, so I hope to see you back here then. Bye guys!